Hello, my name is Glenda and I like to make artistic soaps. The soap that I want to show you today is inspired in The Little Prince. If you see in the cover of the book, you can see stars around his planet. Those stars are the ones that I put here in the mold. And I also want to include the rose. So let me find a picture. There was one in the small book, but it's black and white, and in the 75th anniversary edition of the book there is a color version that I think will show it better. It's going to be the rose when it's covered with like a glass cover, which is something she asked the little prince for. Here you can sort of see the picture of it. However, I think there is a better one, so let me look for it real quick. Now, this is not the first time that I make a Little Prince inspired soap. The first one that I made was a couple years ago and it looked like this. Okay, so here is a larger version of the rose covered with a glass, and here are the embeds that I made to resemble that. I made them in red and also in pink because I figured that pink may bleed less. Sometimes when you use cold process embeds in melting port, in clear melting port, the colorant bleeds into it. If you're wondering how I made them, I'm about to tell you. I use premium crystal clear melting port from Crafter's Choice. I melted it, and then I use this ice cube tray that happens to have a rounded shape at the bottom as the container, like this is gonna be the equivalent to the glass. I pour it into each cavity. I spray it with some alcohol to get rid of any bubbles, and then I sprayed my rose embed. This is made with soap dough, and I inserted it into the clear melting pot. Because it was falling, I had to hold it in place with my hands for a few moments until it was solid enough that it could stand on its own. I do have a video on how to shape roses with soap dough. In case you want to check it out, I'm going to link it below. I try to use something to prop the roses up just to keep them straight until the soap harden enough. In this case, I'm using some silicone finger covers, which I actually also use as a mold for some of the thinner roses. A couple hours later, once the soap was firm, I tried to pop them out of it, and even though they gave me some difficulty at the beginning, eventually I was able to remove them, and I was happy with how they look. I realized that inserting the whole embed was gonna make the soap too thick, so I did cut them in half. So what you will see me use later, it will be like a slice of these embeds. Getting the roses out of the finger protector, the silicone covers, was a bit tricky, but they did come out and the edges were very smooth, so they did work out too. Since the rose embeds are ready, now I need to get the mold ready by putting the stars embeds on it. I have here on the left a small appliance that keeps that surface warm so that whatever you have on it remains melted. So I put some clear melting pot on it, and I'm just cutting sections of the stars embeds and then dipping them into the melting pot and then adhering them to the mold. I have dusted the stars embeds with gold dust mica or gold mica, and to make them I simply used an extruder with, I think I had a star tip in some of them, and in some other ones I used a piping tip that had the shape looked sort of like a star. Now I wouldn't recommend this necessarily because I did break the piping tip doing this because the soap dough was really hard. So by forcing it to go through it, it was too much pressure in it. I'm also using a cookie cutter in the mold. Now I need to get the fragrance ready. I am using a combination of rose, patchouli, and yuzu. By the way, if you have never read the Little Prince book and you'd like to read, you could watch the movie version instead. There's actually several movie versions. The one that I watched most recently that I like was this one. And I just borrowed it from my local library. I added a vanilla stabilizer to the fragrance because I believe that the patchouli will turn it brown otherwise. In the movie that I showed you earlier, there is a cool scene. It's a dance scene by Bob Fosse. He plays the snake, and some of his dance movements that he came up with, I found them very similar to Michael Jackson's and also his attire. And then I found out that a lot of people have said that Michael Jackson was inspired by some of his movements. And I'm going to play them on the screen so you can tell me what you think. I'm also going to link a video below so you can watch it. I've measured out 1 ounce worth of soap in a separate container, and I added the equivalent of the fragrance blend. This is the first time that I'm using this blend, and I want to see how it's going to behave because it does have rose, so I'm afraid it may accelerate too fast. So I'm just gonna leave it on the side and check on it later while I measured and colored the rest of the soap. I separated about 1/3 of the soap batter into another container, and I'm going to color this green. This is going to be the planet. The remaining batter is going to be the universe, or I guess the sky, so it's going to be blue. Lastly, I just need to pour it. The green portion is going to go in the circle in the center and the blue all around it.
When she first came through the ground, I was afraid she was going to be a beelzebub, but then she blossomed. One bright yellow morning, she blossomed. Good morning.
Stop!
What is it?
Give me a moment to wake up.
I'm sorry. How beautiful you are.
Yes, I know. I was born at the same moment as the sun. Did you know that?
No?
So there's a lot of soda ash on this since I use more water than I usually do because I was concerned with the fragrance accelerating. But I think I'm okay with it since in the books the sky was usually just white, not color. This is what it will look like normally, that color. I like how the stars look. I'm going to cut this into 4 bars. And while I do that, I'm going to show you on screen some famous quotes said by either the Rose from The Little Prince or about her. As we near the end of the video, I want to thank you for your time. I will post another soap making video next Thursday. Feel free to subscribe if you want to. Have a good day and see you next week. Bye.